He is a warrior, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know this man until we came to this convention. He looks like a warrior. He walks like a warrior. He acts like a warrior. He's the real deal. He's the boots on the ground. It's a pleasure and an honor, sir, to finally be able to spend time with you.
Don is referring to one Greg Cummings. It is amazing, again, to be in one place with so many great American patriots and heroes. And our next speaker is yet another one, as Don said. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army, serving in the Gulf War. He served as a paratrooper, a ranger, an engineer, and was awarded 23 medals over his 12 years of service. With a degree in sociology, Greg continued his service to his country as a family counselor and police officer. He's the founder of We the People Tea Party of Southern Iowa, the co-founder of Iowa Grassroots Coalition, and he worked with Strong America Now and the Tea Party Patriots. If being a combat veteran wasn't enough, Greg faced danger while helping film The Border States of America, which documents America's immigration crisis. He's a speaker and trainer now, and continuing with the mission, Greg is the vice president of the U.S. First Defense Coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention, Greg Cummings.
All right, everybody needs to take a deep breath. Go ahead and let it out. Got to let all that information transfer, right? And digest. And may the prayers be on warriors like Mr. Shipp, and the angels walk over him, because his message is going to keep him in trouble as he continues forward. All right, I'm going to be talking about the sovereignty of the United States as well as our borders. But before I do, I got to tell you, my good friend gave me a call and he says, Greg, you got to make sure the gloves come off. Joe said, do not be politically correct. So I thought about what it is that I need to be talking about that's an obstacle for us, we the people, maintaining our sovereignty. So I'm here to tell you, I came up with that, and I understand what that is, and it's me. All right? I'm a white male, Christian, gun-toting individual that I'm a veteran. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this here. Not working. What did I do? Okay, it's not moving. And evidently, I need counseling on how to run a projector. Is this the right one? Anybody? I pushed every button. There's 5 buttons on here. Sorry about that. There we go. So we all know that I was in the military, and that's the next thing, right? When I was, thank you. I jumped into the Tea Party movement with both feet because Nancy Pelosi was reading off the terrorist watch list, and the United States veterans were on there for no other reason but we were veterans. I was livid. And so this is another thing that makes me a danger for the progressive movement. So I jumped in, and I have been all over these 48 states. I wish I could have justified Alaska and Hawaii, but I couldn't. But again, I was a racist, hate-mongering, violent Tea Party person, running around with racist individual, Tea Party-minded individuals all across this country of every gender that has the same mindset as the Tea Party movement throughout this country. We are horrible, hate-mongering, racist individuals. Even went to the White House with a good friend of mine who's also a horrible, racist individual. I think you're getting my point. I belong to a party that is full of racist, white, Christian, gun-toting one-percenters. God, I wish I was a one-percenter. On social media, I continue to post hateful messages across this country. We had two beautiful Japanese daughters. My beautiful Latina niece and my beautiful wife, who came from Honduras when she was 11 years old, didn't speak a lick of English, went to college, and now teaches English and Spanish in our junior high and high school in my local community. Along with, yeah, a great success story, but I hate her. I'm racist. And my Haitian son-in-law and my two very liberal daughters. We just hate each other. And it's true, they are very liberal. But I think you get my point, and the messaging across the country that I continue to do is just these hateful messages. Okay, you know it's all in jest, right? Because we're not racist. It's nothing about skin color, but that is the biggest obstacle right now that the left is using for us to not go and fight for the sovereignty of our nation and securing our borders. Are they not? And it's nothing new. It's nothing new at all. Way back, it started from the Mayflower Compact. It's in there itself. The sole purpose of even getting off of the ship is for the advancement of the horrible, hateful religion of Christianity. Roger Williams was so pure, he was kicked out of Massachusetts, and the Indians saved his life, but he didn't push the Indians off of the land. He literally bought the land from the Indian people within the Providence founding that he founded. It had Indians, blacks, Asians, whites living as equals in the same community. He was so pure about freedoms of religion. He was the one that persuaded Oliver Cromwell not to persuade the Indians to become Christians, because it's their freedom right to worship the way that they want to. So it's nothing new, and we see it throughout our history. 180 years from when we landed on Plymouth Rock to the signing of the Constitution, we tried every type of government, every type of oligarchy, every type of socialism that you can dream of. We even tried socialist Christianity, communism, everything. Every one of them failed. Our Constitutional Convention happened, and our founders saw a framework within the Iroquois tribe and their framework of how they governed their people, and they actually borrowed from there to add to our Constitution. And when Benjamin Franklin came up, and we all know the story, came down the steps, the lady asked him, what kind of government did you give him, and what did he say? A republic. What? If you can keep it, right? That means what? We the people are in charge of our republic, not a democracy, right? So it's ongoing. And I got to go past this because I don't have time to show that video, but I'll talk about it. So you saw Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and both of them. Malcolm X didn't even think about it until after he got back from Mecca. And then he realized it's not about the color of skin. So he started preaching what Martin Luther King was preaching. It's about content of character. And he was still struggling in his head because he was so brainwashed with the evils of the Black Panther movement and the American Muslim movement at the time. But he started preaching about, no, it's not the color of the skin, but the content of the character, and he was murdered for it, right? And then we all know that Martin Luther King was talked about over and over and quoted from his I Have a Dream speech, right? Again, saying the same thing about the skin color. It has nothing to do with the skin color. It has everything to do with the content of your character. And I bring all that up because this white privilege crap is just that. It's crap. White people are not blanketed as all racist all the time. All people of all skin color, doesn't matter what the pigment of your skin is, has been racist, have been hateful, has been mean, crude, whatever, and super nice, and champion each other of different skin colors throughout history. It's always been that way. It's always going to continue to be that way. But the progressive movement is using that every time that you want to bring up the border. Okay? So here's a saying from Martin Luther King, right? Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Not to black America, not to white America, to brotherhood. Way before him, Langston Hughes, the famous poet that said, America, the land that never has been yet, but yet must be. Because he too saw the beauty that our founders in the vision saw, right? But he just knew in his time, it's not there yet, right? Way before him, Frederick Douglass, I would unite with anybody to do right and nobody to do wrong. Again, not talking about a class of people, a gender of people, a party of people, right? Okay, this is the worst word and the number one tool that the progressive movement is using against America today. And it's in our educational system, and I'll tell you why. Okay, and my English teacher wife will love this. The specific root of diverse in Latin, a verb that means to what? Turn aside, right? Push away. That's what it means, right? The same root gave us our English verb to divert or divorce, right? Wherein folks turn away from their spouse. Okay? In Latin, the participle form of diversus came to mean separate, and then finally filtered through Old French became diverse, meaning separate or different. Now, what the progressive movement has done, they're trying to use the word diversity and define it with the opposite word. And I'll get to that in a second. Okay, in the 15th and 16th century, it actually meant the quality of deviating from accepted behavior, being wrong or evil. So even trying to change the definition of diversity as something positive, the act of trying to make diversity happen does what? Separates, divides. And that's what their plan is, and we need to understand this. The opposite word to diversity is university. The root of university is universe, meaning the sum of everything, the cosmos, all in one, right? So the emphasis is on what? All. It already identifies the differences between everything, but it's all within one. The Latin word combined our proud vertere, to turn, with uni, one, to give us a basic sense of turn into one, right? Or all taken together. The emphasis here on all, not on the differences within there, but on all, okay? And I'll, just for lack of time, I'm going to hurry up, but the word university is only used today in our colleges, right? Because there was different forms of study, different people studying different forms, and so on and so forth, and so they call it university and put it all together, emphasis again on all. Okay? I carried this picture with me in the Gulf War, and you always hear about one picture has 1,000 words. Does that not? Okay, now, take over there where it says Muslim and Hindu and take that off of there, right? And put there religion 1, religion 2. And where it says Jew and Arab, take that off of there and put man and woman. And where it says Catholic and Protestant, take that off and go white and black. And then in the back, put the police or whatever war that they claim out there, right? If we could only figure out what the hate is in modern day, if we can only figure that out, I don't know, but that is exactly what's happening, right? So this is where the focus need to be. E pluribus unum, our sovereignty, our borders depend on e pluribus unum, from the many one. One nation under God. a melting pot, not a diverse nation. Saying that we need to be a diverse nation is just as bad as saying that we are a democracy. Neither one is true, and we need to learn the definition of both. We are a melting pot, right? A one nation. We, the people. Not we, the white people. Not we, the black people. Not black America and white America, but we, the people. One people. It's going here, sorry. One race, human race. That's the only way that we should be using racism. When we're talking about the human race. One nation, one law. Now we're getting into what I came here to talk about. Ronald Reagan said a nation that cannot control its borders is not a nation. The DACA, we heard about DACA, and I'm not going to go over each piece of this, but we know what the illegal gets under DACA, and they can claim under DACA, and we know that it's never been approved by the people or Congress, right? We know that. So here's the question that President Trump, if you're watching over there, or anybody in Congress or the media, ask this question and make it as public can be. And that is, what prevents a 30-year-old coming here last week from raising his hand and telling us that he's been here since he was 10 years old? What identifies that? Nothing. So we have a 31-year-old window that every year is going to keep moving, right? But it's still a 31-year-old window, and as long as our borders stay open, as long as our sovereignty is not protected, then people are going to continue to stay here and be covered under DACA because they're going to say they've been here since they were childhood. So it has nothing to do about being incompassionate about the situation of an infant being across the border and don't know no other country. It's not about that. It's about the situation that illegals can come here right now. They'll come here a month from now and say they've been here since they were 5, 6 years old. That's the problem. That's why DACA don't work. That's why we need to get rid of it. Came out last Thursday. Everyone was saying that it was 800,000. No, the USA Today came out and said it's 3.2 million that could be covered. And I'm going to tell you that that number is even low. Because the Border Patrol told us while we were on the border that only 1 out of every 7 are apprehended. 1 out of every 7. So any number, the 11 million, times that by 7. That, it could be more. And that's truth. Okay. My good friend Mark Hager, he was supposed to be here today. He's actually the president of the U.S. First Defense Coalition, and the man next to him is Sheriff Larry Deaver. Mark and his Tea Party group from North Carolina wanted to know the truth and went down and saw him and did a little novice documentary and came back with some great information. Then he contacted me. He says, Greg, I want to go back down there, but we need some funds, and we want to take and follow the drug traffic from the border all the way to New York City. And so I went to the Tea Party Patriots, and they funded myself to go down and do that with him. During that time, Sheriff Larry Deaver had us on a mountain where you can see 100 miles into Mexico and 100 miles into the United States, and we were coming down. It was a super steep mountain. And we were coming down, and I said, Sheriff, what is it that you need from the Tea Party movement? And he slams the truck into park, and he turns sideways, and he looks at me in the eye, and he says, Greg, you are our last hope. We've testified before Congress multiple times over the past 2 decades. We've sat down with major news companies and media and told them our story. Both told us the same thing. Oh, yeah, it's horrible, and we'll make sure we get your message out there. Nothing has ever been done. So the sheriffs actually created their own coalitions the same way the Tea Party groups, and the same reason why the Tea Party groups created our groups is because the government ignored them. They didn't give a crap. So they were doing the work of the government, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But then shortly after we came back, Sheriff Larry Deaver died of a mysterious accident. And so Mark and I said, you know what, we are going to continue our and hold our word to Sheriff Larry Deaver. And then from that, we started another venture. We wanted to drive every single mile of the southern border from the tip of Texas all the way to California. We went again to the Tea Party Patriots, and they funded the entire thing and helped us to keep our word to Sheriff Larry Deaver. And we sat like this across talking to ranchers, people who own the property that the border is actually on, and they tell us stories. This guy right here told me about, says, Greg, you know when you go out shopping with your family and you come home, you know you keep your family in your car, right, so that you can go in and clear your house and make sure it's clear, right? I said, no. We do that every time we leave our home, and we've been doing that for decades. That's how bad it is on the border. Another rancher told us, at another time, and I'll get to this picture in a second, but another rancher says, Greg, if you have flies in the kitchen and you're trying to get rid of the flies in the kitchen, stop. Go shut the screen door first. Right? Right? Once the screen door is shut, then go into the kitchen and try to take care of the mess that's in there. Right? Well, right there's our crew. We traveled the entire place, and there's two gentlemen there you might recognize, and they're back there doing the live stream with us right now. But we had a great time meeting some great individuals. This here, I'm standing on the very place that this man was murdered. And that's an author standing next to me who's writing a book, or he wrote a book and wrote about this, but he was pointing to me the direction that he was facing because he was set up. He was set up, and they came from behind and killed him there. We actually found some spent rounds from that. It's crazy. But we met some good people, sheriffs and ranchers alike, all across there. This here is part of the border, and we call this garage doors because it used to be a solid fence going across there, and then Barack Obama took office and said, you know what? The EPA says all of the brush going up against there during the flood months is bad for the environment. So he put in these garage doors, and they put them up for 3 months for the flood season. Guess when the flood season is? The high traffic times in the summer. Absolutely nuts. The barbed wire you see across there, the ranchers put there. Even though the ranchers can't keep the illegals from crossing, at least they can keep the Mexican cows on their side. That's why they did it. So again, this is us just going through some good pictures that we were taking. Make sure, make sure you go to YouTube and just punch in Border States of America. Tea Party Patriots didn't get a dime for funding all of this. It's almost $250,000 spent, and is a great documentary. So make sure you go there and watch it for free. And we got it in the hands of Tea Party groups across the country. I want to show a short clip. Okay, we need sound. No sound?
Smuggled bundles of marijuana through for mules, and then he got stuck trying to get out.
These are very vulnerable spots.
This is a Mexican truck that backed up to these openings to smuggle bundles of marijuana through for mules, and then he got stuck trying to get it out.
All right, I apologize. The whole thing's not there, but anyway, it just shows how bad the situation is down there. The documentary actually won the bronze award in the 36th annual Tully Awards. The director again and the producers back there, so make sure you give them a congratulations. But anyway, to try and hurry up here, the two of us, Mark and I, continued to give our word to Sheriff Deaver, and we met these two good gentlemen. It's Jonathan Geach and Tony Penna. They're both out of California, and they have a passion about securing the border as well. And they had the framework to put something together, and Mark and I had the content and the network. So we founded the U.S. First Defense Coalition. Now, what this is doing, we're definitely keeping our word to Sheriff Deaver. The cornerstone to what we're all about is Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which gives the United States government its responsibility to protect all the borders and all the border states from invasion. Not just the southern border, but all of the borders in America from invasion. And invasion is exactly what's happening. And I told you about 1 out of every 7. So, but we are developing this new organization to get away from the fake news, to have something there. So we brought together the Texas Border Sheriffs Coalition, the Southwest Border Sheriffs Coalition, the Southwest Sheriffs Association, the National Sheriffs Association, the Border Patrol Union, and the Border Rancher Coalition together for the first time into a single organization. And we will be putting out real updated news on a monthly basis, and so be watching for our website. It's going to be established in the next month or so, and we're going to have materials and things available to the people to get what's really going on in our borders, so that we know what really is happening there, so that we, as the people, the authority of this republic, can take over and take over our authority where it needs to be. Okay, so in closing, and I'm sorry I had to hurry up really quick. I skipped another video, but without our borders defined, protected, and secured, we will never be able to maintain our sovereignty. Never. We need to have that line. We need to be able to say, this is where our sovereignty begins. And we have to be able to defend it from there forward. And this is something else. Over 75 nations in 1 year were apprehended coming across that southern border. 75 nations, and that's not from Central America and South America only. We have Africans, we have Europeans, we have Iranians, we have Afghans coming across that southern border. Every single day, every single year, there's something. There are signs or water emergency things there in Mandarin Chinese, telling them that if there's an emergency, here's some water. And what did President Obama do to help secure our borders there? They put up signs on the American side that says, be wary crossing this area because there's high drug and human trafficking. Why in the world would the democracy mindset or the diversity mindset want to keep open a border that brings across child sex traffic? To destroy the nation, that's right, or drug traffic, or whatever the case may be. Yes, there are some good people across this world that are trying to get in here, but they're doing it wrong. They need to get in line like my beautiful wife did and do it right. With that, I'm sorry I tried to hurry to get through this because I know you guys need to get to lunch, but Charlie might continue the mission, and thank you very much.
All right, we're going to get you out of here for lunch, but I want to ask you guys to do me a favor real quick. Everybody that's in the room, I need you to help me out with this. I don't know about you all. I am humbled by every one of these speakers that are speaking to us, okay? But there's one guy that he's already left, and I want to ask you all to applaud him and recognize him again, and I want you to raise